When ancient hunters met human steel, the stars hung like scattered diamonds against the infinite black canvas of space. As Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, her weathered hands gripped the command rail while her experienced eyes surveyed the tactical displays showing the positions of her patrol fleet. The Prometheus was a formidable heavy cruiser, its grey hull bristling with advanced weapons, systems, and defensive arrays. Around her, 12 other ships maintained perfect formation as they conducted their routine patrol along the outer edges of human space. Sarah had commanded fleets for 15 years, but today felt different. The veteran officer couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. Her instincts had kept her alive through 3 major conflicts, and they were screaming warnings now. The Vega system stretched endlessly before them, its orange star casting long shadows across the patrol formation. Lieutenant Commander David Kim approached from the sensor station, his young face creased with concern. "Admiral, we're detecting some unusual energy signatures about 50,000 kilometers ahead. The patterns don't match any known human or commercial vessel types." Sarah turned to face him, her dark eyes sharp with interest. "Define unusual, Commander." "The energy readings are organic in nature, almost biological. But they're massive, suggesting ship-sized objects. I count at least 8 contacts, possibly more, hiding in the sensor shadow of that asteroid cluster." The bridge fell silent except for the low hum of the ship's systems. Sarah had heard rumors from deep space scouts about strange sightings, but this was the first time her fleet had encountered anything truly unknown. She activated the fleet communication system, her voice carrying the authority of decades in command. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We have unknown contacts ahead. Assume defensive formation Beta 7. All crews to yellow alert. We go in cautious but ready." Across the fleet, 13 ships shifted into a protective formation designed to maximize their defensive capabilities while maintaining offensive options. The EU's Defiant, a sleek destroyer commanded by Captain Marcus Rivera, took point alongside 2 other escort vessels. Marcus was younger than Sarah, but had proven himself in battles against pirates and rogue corporate fleets. "Prometheus, this is Defiant." Marcus's voice crackled through the communication system. "We're picking up movement from the asteroid field. Whatever's in there, it's big and it's coming our way." Sarah nodded to her tactical officer, Commander Elena Vasquez. "Shields up, all weapons systems online, but not targeted. We don't want to appear aggressive, but we need to be ready for anything." The bridge lighting shifted to the amber glow of yellow alert as the crew prepared for potential combat. Sarah had trained these people well, and they moved with the precision of a well-oiled machine. Each officer knew their role, each system was checked and rechecked. From the depths of space, something ancient stirred. The Courtney had been hunting among the stars for over 1,000 years, their massive bioships growing and adapting with each conquest. They were apex predators who had never encountered prey that could truly threaten them. Their ships were living creatures, bred for war and fed on the metals and energy of conquered worlds. High Hunter Zolthek stood in the neural chamber of his flagship, tendrils of living biomatter connecting his consciousness directly to the ship's sensory systems. He was 8 feet tall, his scaled hide marked with the ritual scars of countless victories. The Courtney had evolved from pack hunters, and their society reflected that predatory nature. "Warsinger, Velanara," he growled, his voice carrying the harmonic undertones that gave his species their name. "What do you sense from these new creatures?" Velanara was smaller than Zelthic, but equally dangerous. her role as tactical specialist making her invaluable to the hunting pack. She pressed her clawed hands against the ship's neural interface, feeling the electromagnetic signatures of the human vessels. They smell of metal and electricity, High Hunter. Their vessels are crude constructions, not grown like ours. But they move with purpose, and their formation suggests intelligence. Zelphic's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Intelligence means nothing without strength. Look at their tiny ships. We have faced species with far greater numbers and defeated them all. These creatures will surrender once they understand our power. The Courtenay fleet emerged from the asteroid field like predators stepping into a clearing. Their ships were magnificent and terrible to behold, organic curves that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. The smallest was still twice the size of the Prometheus, while the largest dwarfed any human construction. They moved with fluid grace, their living hulls rippling as internal organs shifted to optimize for combat. On the Prometheus, the sensor alerts began screaming. Commander Kim's voice rose above the noise. "Admiral, I'm reading 8 confirmed contacts. No, wait, 12. They're massive, and they're definitely not human in origin." Sarah felt her heart rate increase, but her voice remained steady. "All ships, maintain formation. Do not fire unless fired upon. Open a channel on all frequencies." The communication system crackled to life as Sarah began humanity's first official contact with an alien species. "Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Navy. You are approaching human territorial space. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." For long moments, there was only silence. Then the speakers erupted with sounds no human throat could make, a complex harmony of growls, clicks, and resonant tones that sent shivers through the bridge crew. The universal translator struggled to process the alien language, finally producing words that chilled everyone who heard them. "Small metal things, you drift in our hunting grounds. Submit to the Courtenay, and your deaths will be swift. Resist, and we will consume your ships and feast on your fear." The bridge erupted in controlled chaos as officers called out readings and status reports. Sarah raised her hand for silence, her mind racing through decades of tactical training. These aliens clearly saw humans as prey, but they had no idea what they were dealing with. Commander Basquez's analysis of their formation. Elena's fingers flew across her console. "They're arranged like a hunting pack, Admiral. Classic predator formation with the largest ships at the center and smaller ones flanking. But they're not optimized for coordinated fire. It's more like individual hunters working together." Sarah nodded grimly. "Captain Rivera, are you seeing what I'm seeing?" Marcus's voice came through clearly. "Confirmed, Admiral. They're powerful, but they're not fighting as a unified force. They expect us to scatter or surrender." Warsinger, Zolthek commanded, signaled the pack. "We close distance and demonstrate our power. These metal creatures will understand quickly enough." The Courtenay ships began to advance, their biological hulls glowing brighter as weapons systems charged. Massive tendrils emerged from their sides, crackling with energy that could tear through any armor the pack had previously encountered. They moved with the confidence of apex predators who had never truly been challenged. Sarah watched them approach and felt something she hadn't experienced in years: excitement. Not fear, but the thrill of facing something genuinely unknown. "All ships, execute formation, Delta 9. Show them what human coordination looks like." The human fleet transformed, where moments before there had been a standard defensive formation. Now there was something the Courtenay had never seen: The ships moved with mechanical precision, each vessel taking a position that maximized the fleet's collective firepower while minimizing individual vulnerability. The destroyers formed a protective screen around the larger ships, while the cruisers positioned themselves to provide overlapping fields of fire. Zolthek paused, his predatory instincts suddenly alert. Warsinger, their movement pattern is unexpected. They coordinate like a single organism, but they are clearly separate entities. Perhaps they are a hive mind species. Hi, Hunter. We have encountered such before. No, Zolthek's voice carried a note of uncertainty. Hive minds move differently. This is something else, something we have not seen. The first shot came from the Courtney flanking vessel, a massive bioelectric discharge that could have vaporized most ships the pack had encountered. But the human formation was ready. The targeted destroyer, US Raptor, spun away from the blast, while two other ships immediately moved to cover its position. The energy beam struck empty space where the ship had been moments before. Captain Rivera's voice cut through the fleet communication. All ships, they're powerful but slow. Use speed and maneuverability. Don't let them predict your movements. The human ships scattered like leaves in a hurricane, but it was controlled chaos. Each vessel knew exactly where the others were going, their movements coordinated by years of training and advanced communication systems. The Courtney had never faced an enemy that could move as individual units while maintaining perfect coordination. Sarah watched the tactical display and allowed herself a small smile. Commander Kim, target their lead ship's weapon systems. Not to destroy, but to disable. Let's see how they react to precision strikes. The Prometheus's main cannons spoke with controlled fury. Instead of the massive energy discharges the Courtney used, the human weapons fired precisely targeted plasma bolts. Each shot was calculated to disable specific systems without destroying the entire ship. The alien vessel shuddered as its forward weapons went dark. Zolthek felt his ship's pain through the neural link, and for the first time in centuries, he experienced something he had forgotten: surprise. They could have destroyed us with that strike pattern. Why did they show restraint? The answer came not from Velanara, but from his own growing understanding. These creatures were not just intelligent, they were tactical. They fought with purpose, beyond simple destruction. They were thinking several moves ahead, like hunters who had learned to hunt other hunters. The human fleet continued to demonstrate capabilities that shattered every assumption the Courtney had about warfare. Their ships could coordinate attacks from multiple angles simultaneously. Their weapons could disable rather than destroy, and their formations could adapt in real time to changing conditions. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to be learning from each exchange, their tactics evolving even as the battle continued. Captain Rivera pushed the Defiant through a series of maneuvers that would have been impossible for a biological ship. The destroyer spun end over end while maintaining perfect fire control, its weapons striking 3 different Courtney vessels before the aliens could even begin to respond. The human ship's movement was so precise, it seemed to dance between the enemy's attacks. Admiral Marcus reported, "They're trying to surround us, but their ships are too big to coordinate effectively. I recommend we use that against them." Sarah nodded. "All ships, implement tactics 7-7. Let's show them what happens when humans decide to hunt." The human fleet suddenly reversed direction, diving straight into the center of the Courtney formation. It was a maneuver that should have been suicide, but the humans had calculated every angle, every timing. They passed through the alien formation. Like a school of fish through a coral reef, their weapons striking critical systems on every enemy ship they passed. For the first time in over 1,000 years, the Korthoni hunting pack was being outmaneuvered. Their massive ships, designed to overwhelm through size and power, couldn't adapt to the humans' three-dimensional thinking. The aliens fought like predators accustomed to chasing fleeing prey, but the humans fought like predators who had learned to hunt other predators. As the engagement continued, both sides began to understand what they were truly facing. The Korthoni realized they had encountered something unprecedented, a species that could match their aggression while exceeding their tactical sophistication. The humans, meanwhile, began to appreciate the raw power and biological adaptability of their opponents. The battle was about to enter a new phase, one that would test both species in ways they had never imagined. In the depths of space, the stage was set for a confrontation that would change the course of galactic history forever. The revelation of human warfare. The space around the Vega system erupted in a display of lights that would have been beautiful. Under different circumstances, energy discharges painted the void in brilliant blues and whites, while the hulls of both human and Korthoni vessels reflected the deadly light show. But Admiral Sarah Chen had no time to appreciate the spectacle. As her fleet engaged an enemy unlike anything humanity had ever faced. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures approaching from the outer system," Commander Kim reported, his voice tight with concern. "It's a full Korthoni fleet, at least 30 vessels. They'll be here in 20 minutes. Sarah felt. Her stomach tightened. Her patrol fleet had been holding its own against the initial hunting pack, but 30 ships would overwhelm them through sheer numbers. She opened the fleet communication channel, her voice carrying the calm authority that had made her legendary among her crews. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We have major reinforcements incoming. We need to end this engagement quickly and prepare for a larger battle. Execute Protocol Omega-3. Captain Marcus Rivera acknowledged immediately from the Defiant. "Understood, Admiral. My ship is ready for whatever comes next." Protocol Omega-3 was humanity's most desperate tactical doctrine, designed for situations where retreat was impossible and surrender meant death. It required each ship to operate at maximum efficiency while supporting the fleet's collective survival. Every human crew member understood what it meant, and none of them hesitated in the depths of space. The approaching Korthoni fleet was led by Fleetmaster Korvac, a massive creature who had conquered 17 star systems during his long career. His flagship was a living leviathan 3 times the size of any human vessel, its bioneural networks capable of coordinating the entire fleet's movements. Korvac had received Zalthak's reports about the strange metal creatures, but he found them difficult to believe. High Hunter Zolthak claims these creatures fight with unusual tactics, Korvac mused to his war singers. But tactics mean nothing against overwhelming force. 30 ships against 13. The mathematics are simple. What Korvac didn't understand was that humans had built their entire military doctrine around fighting against superior numbers. Earth's history was filled with examples of smaller forces defeating larger ones through superior tactics, technology, and determination. The crews of the patrol fleet were about to demonstrate why humanity had earned its place among the stars. On the Prometheus, Chief Engineer Lisa Park worked frantically in the ship's engineering section. She was a brilliant woman who had spent her career pushing human technology beyond its theoretical limits. Her hands flew across control panels as she rerouted power systems and overcharged the ship's defensive arrays. "Admiral, I can give you 40% more power to weapons and shields," she reported over the communication system. but we'll be running beyond safety parameters. The ship can handle it for about 30 minutes before systems start failing. Sarah nodded grimly. Do it, Chief. 30 minutes is all we need. The Prometheus shuddered as its power systems surged beyond their normal capacity. Around the fleet, similar modifications were being made as human ingenuity pushed their technology to its absolute limits. The ships began to glow with excess energy as their crews performed miracles of engineering under combat conditions. Selthek watched the human vessels with growing unease. His pack had been fighting them for nearly an hour, and instead of weakening, the metal creatures seemed to be getting stronger. Their movements were becoming more coordinated, their attacks more precise. It was as if they were learning from each exchange and adapting their tactics in real time. Warsinger, Velenara, he called. How are these creatures improving during battle? Our bioships adapt over generations, but these artificial constructs seem to evolve moment by moment. Velenara had been studying the human formation patterns, and her analysis was disturbing. Hi, Hunter. I believe they are not just intelligent, but creative. They invent new tactics as they fight. This is beyond anything we have encountered. The human fleet suddenly split into 3 groups, each moving in a different direction. The Courtney hunting pack tried to pursue all 3, but their coordination broke down as they were forced to divide their attention. It was exactly what the humans had planned. Squadron leader Jake Torres led his fighter wing from the launch bay of the heavy cruiser US Valiant. His squadron consisted of 12 small, fast attack craft that could outmaneuver anything the Courtney could deploy. Jake was a pilot who had grown up in the asteroid belts, where split-second reactions meant the difference between life and death. Iron Wing, this is lead, he called to his pilots. We're going to show these aliens what 3-dimensional combat really means. Follow my lead and keep your eyes open. The human fighters erupted from their launch bays like angry wasps, their small forms almost invisible against the vastness of space. They moved in patterns that the Courtney had never seen, diving below the plane of battle and attacking from angles that the alien ships couldn't defend against. Each fighter was piloted by a human who understood that their small size was actually an advantage in this type of combat. The Courtney ships tried to swat the fighters with their massive weapons, but hitting a target the size of a fighter with weapons designed for capital ships was nearly impossible. The human pilots used this to their advantage, drawing the alien fire while their larger ships moved into optimal attack positions. Fleetmaster Korvac arrived in the system just as the battle reached its climax. His massive fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, ready to crush the human resistance with overwhelming force. But what he saw made him pause. The initial hunting pack was scattered and damaged, while the human ships continued to fight with undiminished effectiveness. Impossible, Korvac growled. 13 ships cannot defeat 8 of our finest hunters. But the evidence was before his eyes. The human fleet had not only survived, but had adapted to fight in ways the Courtney had never imagined. Their ships worked together like parts of a single organism, each vessel supporting the others while maintaining its own tactical independence. Sarah watched the massive Courtney fleet approach and felt a cold certainty settle over her. This was humanity's first major test in the galaxy, and the outcome would determine whether her species would be respected or consumed. She opened a channel to all ships, her voice carrying the weight of human history. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We face overwhelming odds, but we are not overwhelmed. We are human. We adapt, we overcome, and we never surrender. Show them. what our species is truly capable of. The human fleet transformed once again, this time into a formation that maximized their electronic warfare capabilities. Every ship began broadcasting on frequencies that interfered with the Corthony bioneural networks, disrupting their coordination and communication. It was a tactic that could only work because humans understood that their enemies were biological, rather than technological. Chief Engineer Lisa Park had been monitoring the alien communications and made a crucial discovery. "Admiral, their ships are connected by biological signals. If we can disrupt those signals, we can break their coordination." Sarah smiled grimly. "Do it, Chief. Show them what happens when they face a species that thinks outside the box." The human ships began transmitting carefully modulated signals that interfered with the Corthony neural networks. The effect was immediate and devastating. The massive alien fleet began to break apart as individual ships lost contact with their command structure. Ships that had moved in perfect coordination moments before now drifted without direction. Korvac felt his connection to the fleet wavering as the human signals disrupted his bioneural links. For the first time in his long career, he experienced something he had never felt before: fear. Not fear of death, but fear of the unknown. These creatures fought with methods that defied everything the Cortany understood about warfare. The human fighters pressed their advantage, striking at the confused alien ships with surgical precision. Squadron leader Torres led his pilots in attacks that targeted the Cortany communication nodes, further disrupting their ability to coordinate. Each strike was calculated to maximize disruption while minimizing the risk to human forces. "Iron Wing, target their neural clusters," Jake called to his squadron. "Those pulsing sections on their hulls. If we can damage enough of them, their big ships will be flying blind." The fighters dove into the chaotic battle, their weapons striking with the precision of surgeons. The Corthony ships, magnificent as they were, had never been designed to fight an enemy that could disrupt their biological systems. Their greatest strength was being turned against them. Captain Rivera pushed the Defiant through the alien formation, his ship's weapons targeting the massive bioships with devastating effect. But what impressed the Corthony most was not the human firepower, but their willingness to sacrifice for each other. When the cruiser US Thunderbolt was surrounded by 3 alien vessels, every human ship in the area immediately moved to assist, regardless of the danger to themselves. Zelfek watched in amazement as human ships positioned themselves between damaged vessels and enemy fire. Warsinger, they protect their wounded, even at the cost of tactical advantage. This concept was foreign to the Corthony, who had evolved from solitary hunters. Their pack behavior was based on mutual benefit, not genuine sacrifice. But humans had learned to fight as a true collective, where the survival of one was linked to the survival of all. The battle raged for hours, but gradually the tide turned in humanity's favor. The Cortany found themselves fighting an enemy that could adapt faster than they could respond. Every tactic they tried was countered by human ingenuity. Every advantage they pressed was turned against them by human creativity. As the engagement continued, both sides began to understand that they were witnessing something unprecedented. The Corthony realized they had encountered a species that could match their aggression while exceeding their tactical sophistication. The humans demonstrated that their greatest strength was not their technology, but their ability to work together and adapt under pressure. Fleetmaster Korvac finally called for a ceasefire, his massive fleet battered and confused. His voice carried across the communication channels, translated by both sides' technology. Creatures of metal and determination, you have shown us something we have never seen. You fight not just with weapons, but with unity. You adapt not just to survive, but to protect others. The Courtney recognized strength, and you have proven yours. Admiral Chen responded carefully, knowing that her words would shape the future relationship between their species. We fight to protect our people and our way of life, but we also fight with honor. If you come in peace, you will find humans ready to learn and cooperate. The aftermath of the battle saw both fleets maintaining cautious distance while their leaders negotiated. The Courtney had learned that humans were not prey to be consumed, but potential allies to be respected. The humans had proven that their species could stand against any threat the galaxy might present. As the two fleets prepared to part ways, both sides carried away lessons that would reshape their understanding of warfare and diplomacy. The Courtney would return to their empire with stories of creatures who fought with their minds as much as their weapons. The humans would remember that their greatest strength lay not in their technology, but in their ability to work together when facing the impossible. The first contact between humanity and the Courtney would be remembered as the moment when both species discovered that the galaxy was far more complex and dangerous than they had ever imagined. But it would also be remembered as the day when two very different forms of intelligence found common ground in their mutual respect for courage, determination, and the will to survive against overwhelming odds.